Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga. Nanda Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Nityananda Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. There we go.
So today's a special day. Sit down if you like. Thank you all for coming and participating in this wonderful observance of Srila Prabhupada, July 11th, 1966. Okay, tell me I'll be done in 5 minutes. Yeah. Okay. July 11th, 1966, Srila Prabhupada formally incorporated the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And even at that time and before, Srila Prabhupada had a world vision for the propagating of Krishna's holy names through every town and village throughout the world. So even though at that time it may have sounded a little silly that this elderly man, 70 years old, from India, from the village of Vrindavan, India, would come to New York City, one of the most aggressive, passionate cities in the world, most challenging place to live, as you all know. It's not cheap to rent an apartment here. It never was. So Srila Prabhupada came to this place because he knew it was the energy point of Western culture. So Prabhupada was very specific. He did not want to change anything. He wanted to add. And what he wanted to add was to Krishna in everybody's life. Just the chanting of God's names in everybody's life. So Prabhupada, in order to do that, inaugurated the International Society for Krishna Consciousness right here in this very spot, right under that tree, as is chronicled by that beautiful photograph of Srila Prabhupada standing up and explaining to the people of New York City, Tompkins Square Park, that he was here to give them something wonderful, and that something wonderful was simply to chant God's names. No matter whether you were Christian or Hindu or Jew or Islamic, no matter what your religion is, it's a universal language, the glorification, the praise of God. And we've seen throughout history, when someone is compelled to speak a message that they feel particularly strongly about, then they will come and they will open their heart in public and they will share, and those that will hear, those that don't want to, they will go away. But Srila Prabhupada felt compelled to deliver this message to whoever listened. And now we see, in 1966, now we're in 2012, there are literally millions of people who have been inspired by the fact that he came here on that day and he started chanting Hare Krishna with a handful of followers who just had met him and really didn't even know what he was truly about. So I'm going to read here just a little from his life story written by Srila Satsarup Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, and it'll give you, just in 2 pages, it'll give you an understanding of what Prabhupada's whole mood and whole mission was. So this is from Lilamrita. It's called Planting the Seed, and its biography. This is from 1965 to 1966. Prabhupada is lecturing. Mr. Goldsmith, wearing slacks and a shirt and tie, sits on the floor near the door, listening earnestly to the lecture, despite the distracting noises from the neighborhood. And that neighborhood is 26 2nd Avenue, where Prabhupada's storefront still exists. Prabhupada has been explaining how scholars mislead innocent people with non-devotional interpretations of the Bhagavad Gita And now, in recognition of the attorney's respectable presence, and as if to catch Mr. Goldsmith's attention better, he introduces him into the subject of the talk. Quote, "I will give you a practical example how things are misinterpreted. Just like our president, Mr. Goldsmith, he knows that expert lawyers, by interpretation, can do so many things." Anybody a lawyer here? You can relate. If you ever needed a lawyer, you can relate. "When I was in Calcutta, there was a rent tax passed by the government, and some expert lawyer changed the whole thing by his interpretation. The government had to reenact the whole law because their purpose was foiled by the interpretation of this lawyer. So we're not out for foiling the purpose of Krishna, for which the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. But unauthorized persons are trying to foil the purpose of Krishna. Therefore, that is unauthorized." All right, Mr. Goldsmith, you can ask anything. Mr. Goldsmith stands, and to the surprise of the people gathered, he makes a short announcement asking for signers on an incorporation document for the Swami's new religious movement. Prabhupada, they are present here. You can take the addresses now. Mr. Goldsmith, I can take them now, yes. Prabhupada, yes you can. Bill, you can give your address, and Raphael, you can give yours, and Don, Roy, Mr. Green. As the meeting breaks up, those called on to sign as trustees come forward, standing around in the little storefront, waiting to leaf cursorially through the pages the lawyer has produced from his thin attaché, and to sign as he directs. Yet not a soul among them is committed to Krishna consciousness. Mr. Goldsmith meets his quota of signers, a handful of sympathizers with enough reverence toward the Swami to want to help him. First trustees, who will hold office for a year until the first annual meeting of the corporation, are Michael Grant, who puts down his name and address without ever reading the document, Mike's girlfriend Jan, and James Green. No one seriously intends to undertake any formal duties as trustee of the religious society, but they are happy to help the Swami by signing his fledgling society into legal existence. According to law, a second group of trustees will assume office for the second year. They are Paul Gardner, Roy, and Don. The trustees for the third year are Carl Jurgens, Bill Epstein, and Raphael. None of them know exactly what the half a dozen legal-sized type pages mean, except that Swamiji is forming a society. So I don't want to hold these gentlemen up. I just want to go on to read. The purposes stated within ISKCON's Articles of Incorporation reveal Prabhupada's thinking. They were 7 points, similar to those given in the prospectus for the League of Devotees he formed in Jhansi, India in 1953. That attempt had been unsuccessful, yet his purposes remain unchanged. The 7 purposes of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. 1. To systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and to educate all peoples in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and to achieve real unity and peace in the world. 2. To propagate a Krishna consciousness of Krishna, a consciousness of Krishna as it